The fact that this administration has endorsed the concept of preventive war, and from the speech the other night, I gathered from that speech that expect to see a lot more activity in Pakistan. You know, since this administration took over, there's well, maybe in the last 2 years, there's been over 80 drones that went into Pakistan trying to target certain individuals. They're always, you know, they're always terrorists and they're insurgents. But when we were working with them, when the insurgents and Osama bin Laden were fighting the Soviets, we called them freedom fighters. But now we have, guess what? The CIA sends the drones into Pakistan. Here's a secret organization, unresponsible in many ways to Congress. Nobody knows about it. And they pick the targets and they send that. They probably control it from Washington, D.C., from their headquarters, for all we know. But they claim, well, we've killed 400 bad guys over there. But you know, even if they were targeting somebody that was literally, they were in combat with, they've literally killed thousands of innocent people. And it's the innocent people who become become radicalized and then turn against us. So that's why I think this day and age, it makes a good time for us to restate loudly and clearly that it's time that we have a non-interventionist foreign policy, bring our troops home and mind our own business. You know, unfortunately, we're winning. We're winning a lot. We don't have the gold standard or sound money, but the public's with us on auditing the Fed. I'm on the Financial Services Committee, I've always have been, and I'm on Foreign Affairs Committee, and I've been pushing these ideas for a long time. But today or yesterday, there was a poll that showed the majority of the American people right now are saying we need to quit all this stuff. We need to come home and quit all this warmongering. Can you imagine how much money we'd save? It takes about $1 trillion a year to operate our empire. Our empire, we're in 130 countries. We have 700 and some bases. We don't have any money. We're broke. It's amazing that it keeps kept together. The financial system has already collapsed. It was based on the fiat dollar system, and the financial system still has a long way to go before it starts to rebuild. The dollar system still functions to some degree, but it doesn't operate like it used to. But that dollar system, I am convinced, is going to fail. Because you can't keep running up deficits of a couple $1 trillion a year and covering that by new money. And that is what we've been doing. So I believe that we, and your generation especially, has to expect that we're going to have a lot more financial troubles and we're going to have a lot more dollar problems. And a dollar crisis, when the money doesn't work, is a lot more dangerous than a financial crisis. So we need attitudes change. And this is where I've been encouraged. Attitudes are changing. Thankful to so many of you who have been interested in talking about that, interested in the Federal Reserve, and knowing that something's messed up about our foreign policy. Even today, we're talking about war being spread into Pakistan. The war is not over in Iraq. We're expanding it in Afghanistan. But next week or the week after, we're going to have a vote on putting really, really tough sanctions on Iran. Sanctions on a country, when you prevent goods going in, it's actually an actual war. It's an act of war. We're going to prevent fuel from going in. We're terrified by the Iranians that they're going to be a power and they're going to come and destroy us because they're doing enrichments, which they say is for peaceful purposes and whatnot. But they're a backward country. They don't have an army or a navy or intercontinental ballistic missiles. They can't even make enough gasoline. They have all that oil and they can't even make enough gasoline for themselves. And we're hysterical about it and we're ready to start a war. And believe me, there's a lot of pressure to do some bombing over there. And that to me is the worst thing this country, that's the worst thing this world needs, is to expand the war and get Iran involved and all the other things. So We live in crucial times. I think we're on the verge of major changes. I believe there's a lot of good things going on in the country. I think a lot of people are looking to the right things to do. I believe there is a revolutionary spirit in this country, and the American people are saying enough is enough and we want it changed. But the big question is how is that going to come about? If it's indeed a revolution, it's not a Republican revolution. We don't all of a sudden, oh, we're going to get the Republicans back in charge again. Not that it wouldn't be the worst idea. The Democrats have been there way too long, you know. But change is good. But that's not a revolution. What a revolution is all about is what Keynes did. Keynes ran a Keynesian revolution. That is an economic interventionist. No sound money, deficit financing, welfare state, all of this nonsense. So we're still fighting Keynes. Nixon, remember what Nixon told us? No, you're not old enough to remember Nixon. But he told us, he says, we're all Keynesians now. And this is what we've been. It's hard to get the good economic messages. Sometimes you might even have to rely on the internet to find the truth about what's going on. Of course, the internet has been our friend, and I hope that we never succumb to the temptation or the authoritarian approach of government, because there would be nothing more than to control the internet. But the internet, we have to do everything conceivable to keep that as open as possible. Of course, in Washington, the excuse is, oh, some bad stuff might be on there. You know, they might have a bad picture or something. And when you think about it, you know, bad ideas are probably more dangerous than some bad pictures. And then that, well, you know what it means. We just don't, we need the communications that's been available to us now for these several years. And it was dramatic during the presidential campaign. But a true revolution is a revolution of ideas. And the ideas of liberty are alive and well in this country. Things are not as bad as they had been with the Soviet system. The Soviet system collapsed, ironically, after Afghanistan, and ours is likely to collapse as well. We're not likely to all of a sudden get enough votes up there that we're going to be wise enough to gradually work our way out of this addiction. And therefore, we have to be prepared that when the system quits functioning, which we're coming awfully close to that, then we have to have the ideas out there. Yesterday, they had a vote in the Senate. And the vote was whether or not we're going to pay for all this new health care that the government's going to give you and everybody else. Everybody's going to have, you know, free health care. And it's not going to cost anything. But guess what the vote was on about? It was to take $400 billion and cut it out of Medicare. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, you know. Of course, my belief is rather fundamental. If it's done in the Constitution, we don't do it, so I don't think we should be in education or in medicine. But hardly should we as a people believe that you can pay for expanding free health care by diminishing the health care of people that aren't that unhappy with their health care. So it really makes no sense. But the reason why I think we're getting a lot of attention, our views are getting the attention, is the obvious failure of the system that we have today, whether it's economic or foreign policy. They're shifting our ways, and it's a tremendous opportunity for us to present the case. Our obligation is to ourselves, to our neighbors and our friends, and to be active, to be politically active or academically active, but it's mostly spreading a message. The message is the understanding and the value of individual liberty, freedom, and sound money. If that is understood, it's going to be pervasive. It will pervade our universities. It will pervade our media. It will pervade our culture. It will pervade our government and eventually pervade all the political parties. Since, you know, in this country, we don't have that much democracy in this country. If you ever came to the conclusion that Republicans and Democrats are pretty close, I mean, what's the difference? What if you want to compete? Oh, yeah, it's real easy. They'll let you in debates, and it's easy to get on tickets and all this. So, no, we send kids over to die to promote democracy. At the same time, it's hard to compete here in this country.